Good afternoon. It is Wednesday, July 31st, 2024. It's just afternoon on the East Coast. This is Robert Sin at CEO Technician on X, at Goldfinger on CEO.ca, and this is Goldfinger Capital. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy this content, if you get value from my videos. I put a lot of effort, a lot of time into these videos every single week. And check out some of the other content. Got a lot of conversations with CEOs and other investors. Check it all out. And let me hear your comments in the comments section. Definitely always interested in hearing feedback from viewers. So today is Fed Day. Fed announcement is in just over an hour, so we'll see how well the comments in this video age, but this is a nice time for me to do this video. It's usually a little quieter in the market right before the Fed announcement, and then it will pick up after 2 p.m., especially with Chairman Powell's press conference at 2:30. That'll probably last for about 45 minutes. The announcement today is likely to be pretty much a nothing burger. I don't think the Fed is going to cut interest rates, but it's going to be all about September. What are they going to say about September? What is Powell going to say about September in his press conference? The market is basically pricing in like a 95% chance of a rate cut in September and a 14% chance of a 50 basis point rate cut in September. What will the press conference do for those market-based probabilities? Will they raise, will his comments raise the prospects of a 50 basis point cut, or will they lower that 50 basis point probability? In my estimation, the Fed is behind the curve. There's a lot of data showing that the unemployment rate is really starting to tick up. There's other signs of weakening across the economy, and really the reason why the Fed has held off on easing for so long is because of inflation. They have been very worried about the inflation battle, that they might make a mistake and inflation will rebound like it did in January and February. But based upon the last 3 months, the CPI data has been very tame, and inflation is currently running about 2.5% or less. There's actually some data that's saying it's at 2%. So the Fed is already at target. Meanwhile, we're about to trigger the Sahm Rule, this recession indicator that has basically 100% track record. Every time that the unemployment rate has started to lift off from a very, very low level, like it was earlier this year or in 2023, it's basically led to a recession starting either right now or very soon. We saw this in the early 1960s, the early 1970s, the mid 1970s, the early 1980s, the early 1990s, the early 2000s, and then the 2008, 2009 global financial crisis. Pretty much every time you get this lift off from a very low level of unemployment, a recession is either starting or it's about to start. And then, of course, we had the 2020 COVID panic where basically everybody got laid off for 3 or 4 months, and then the economy rebounded in 2021 with all the stimulus and the COVID, restrictions got loosened, right? But this is a pretty strong track record over more than 60 years, so we should be paying attention right now. Another one is people quitting their jobs. So a lot of people were quitting their jobs in 2021. In 2022, they're quitting their jobs. They were leaving the labor force. Well, look at this. This is mean reverting back to pre-pandemic levels. People are staying at their jobs. That means that they're a little worried that they won't be able to get another job or they won't be able to generate another source of income, right? So this is another strong piece of data showing labor market rebalancing. So that labor market that was out of balance with not enough supply of labor in 2022 and in 2023 is now resetting. This is what Powell has been talking about for the last 18 months. and it's happening. So the Fed is achieving all of its objectives. And if inflation is 2.5%, which it is based upon the data, and the Fed funds rate is at 5.5%, and the economy is starting to slow, the Fed is way, way too tight. Even the most modest sort of doves think that the Fed is 150 basis points too tight. Others think they're 200 basis points too tight. So either way, we've got a lot of easing coming here at the end of 2024 and into 2025. I think they should have started cutting in June. But as usual, the Fed is not proactive. The Fed is reactive. That's just how they do monetary policy. And as we know, they've been so gun shy about inflation based upon the mistakes of the Fed in the mid 1970s that they just didn't want to be that sort of Fed that was too easy when inflation was above target. But now here we are. And really, the Fed is so far too tight that I think they will have to go 50 basis points in September, sort of like they started hiking in 2022 in 70 basis point increments or 75 basis point increments. Well, now they're going to start cutting with a 50 basis point cut just so they can start to pull things back to the neutral rate faster. I think that the neutral rate is probably about 3.5%. Currently, so they're way too restrictive right now. We're starting to see it really be felt throughout the economy. Okay, so that's my take. I'm going to just say that gold is definitely looking for a dovish press conference from Powell. What happened here? Hello. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I guess I hadn't looked at the chart in a little bit. My computer froze up. So yeah, we're at 2472 in the December contract. So this is actually not spot, right? Spot is like 2410 or 2420. I don't have it in front of me, but we're above 2400 in the August contract. But the August is rolling over, and now the new front month highest volume contract is trading 2472. So we are definitely pricing in some dovishness this afternoon from Mr. Powell. If for some reason he disappoints with the dovishness, there's definitely a potential for a sell on the news event in gold and in equities. I mean, look at the S&Ps freaking flying here. Oh, here we go again because I didn't reload it before I made the video. Come on, guys. What are you doing, TradingView? All right, yes. 55.61, basically not at session highs, but pretty close. You see, I have a resistance level drawn here, 55.85. It'd be interesting to see if we test that later. I would be tempted to take a little bit of a short there, but definitely some optimism baked in here walking into the Fed. Some potential for disappointment. However, bigger picture, where's my gold chart? I got too many charts up here, guys. Sorry. Uh, I know some guys want to get bearish on gold here, but this is nothing but a bullish consolidation since mid-April within the context of a bull market uptrend. As technicians, we must really respect the long-term trends and the market structure. The market structure for gold is bullish. Bigger picture, daily, weekly, monthly, bigger picture. Obviously, on the 30-minute, the hourly, there's going to be tactical permutations. We've seen some of that in the last week for sure. But bigger picture, there's no reason to get off the bullish trend here. The trend remains intact, and the gold miners, right? They are at or near 52-week highs. They are bullish as heck. They are telling us this gold bull market is for real. So while there may be some volatility later today or tomorrow from whatever Powell says, I want to buy dips. I want to buy weakness. I am a gold bull here, 100%. Now, the equity market, we've had a correction here in the last couple of weeks, led by the mega caps, led by the NVIDIAs of the world, right? We've seen this big shakeout in NVIDIA down to 104, 105 yesterday. It even got down to, I think, 100 in the after hours after the Microsoft earnings. Well, look at this rebound, right? Look at this rebound. But structurally, mega cap tech is still in a corrective mode here. I'm not convinced by this one-day rebound. In fact, it's running into key resistance right now near 115, 116. You can see the blue horizontal support line I drew. So until we can really get back above the 50-day moving average in NVIDIA, I'm not convinced. But bigger picture, the equity market looks extremely bullish to me. IWM consolidating on the highs here. This is a very powerful longer term breakout in small caps, and we need to respect this price action. I mean, look at this. The IWM has been basing throughout 2022 and 2023 while the Fed was tightening, and now we're about to get the commencement of an easing cycle, which historically is very bullish for small cap stocks. So we need to respect that. Home builders, bullish, making new 52-week highs almost every day. So it's very hard for me to get bearish on the overall stock market when we're seeing this kind of strength in home builders, in small caps. Yeah, I'm going to keep it that simple. And the S&P 500 pulled back to its rising 50-day moving average, had some volatility for sure. We had some big down days, but nothing more than just serving to reset sentiment and shake some people loose. I've got to stick with the bullish trend here on stocks. And really, if there's one chart that I would just turn to, just IWM and this bigger picture breakout. I mean, this is a very significant long-term breakout after basing throughout pretty much all of 2022 and 2023. And home builders are telling a story. It's very interesting. I posted a chart on X yesterday talking about home builders diverging from copper. I mean, normally you think like home builders are cyclical. They're going to follow the economy. If the economy weakens, home builders are going to weaken. If the economy strengthens, then home builders will strengthen. People buying new homes, it means they're doing well, right? Same thing with copper. You need a lot of copper to build houses, to build infrastructure. So why has there been this major divergence between copper and home builders? Which one is right? Well, we're seeing copper turn up today pretty impressively off of what looks to be a washout low that was reached at 403 a pound on Tuesday. So I tend to think that home builders are right here, and copper is turning right now. All right, so NVIDIA, let's close some of these up, and I'll actually just close this one. We'll just focus on these charts. So Cameco earnings this morning, you can see the stock is down a little bit. It's been in a downtrend for the last few weeks, along with the uranium sector. And here's just some notes I posted on X. It was a snoozer conference call, but the long-term trend is intact. They maintained full year guidance, and the Cameco CEO definitely seeing higher U3O8 prices down the road, and their contracting outlook remains strong. And whatever problems are happening in Kazakhstan, it's good for Cameco because 90% of their production is outside of Kazakhstan. Look, let's zoom this out a little bit more. Let's look at support at $44 a share. So, it's sitting right at support. It was a small miss on the bottom line, per share print for Q2. So the market kind of sold it a little bit on the news. I tend to want to be a buyer of Cameco here at $44 support. At this exact moment in time, I do not have a position, but that could change over the coming days. All right, copper and oil. Yeah, so it's interesting that oil has been pretty weak here over the last month, but the refiners are turning up, VLO turning up a bit here in the last week, and oil services turning up. And you can see, like I didn't draw it, but I did draw it on the Schlumberger chart. There's this big head and shoulders pattern that has formed in oil services since the end of April. And we're just starting to come up to potentially test this neckline maybe here pretty soon. So oil services, OIH, I've been long on this one. I've been bullish on this one. I've been pounding the table on it, continue to be bullish on it. And yeah, we're moving up to new highs right now as I'm making this video. And Schlumberger, bullish on this one. This is best of breed in the oil services sector. So I like this because this is a way to play oil, but it's also a way to play Fed easing and a potential Trump 2.0. There's a few different angles to this, and frankly, it's just attractive. It's an attractive sector from a valuation standpoint. It's not an expensive sector. It's more of a value sector. So we continue to be long on OIH and Schlumberger. Definitely VLO, refiner is definitely on the top of my new ideas list. Okay, we talked about that. We talked about Cameco. Talked about gold, pound the table, bullish gold. Although we could see some volatility this afternoon, and just gold miners. So Newmont had earnings last week, and I'm going to simplify it because save time for the juniors I want to talk about. They sold the news on the corner. In fact, it was down over 5% the morning after the report. I think that was Thursday morning. I bought that dip at $45 a share, and look, we're now above where it went out the day before the quarter. So it was a sell the news event, maybe some concern about rising costs to mine an ounce of gold, but that's been a trend throughout the industry for the last 4 years. That's nothing new. But when you really looked into the quarter, you dug into the numbers, their free cash flow is increasing. There's mounting signs that they are turning the corner as a company. This aircraft carrier is turning for the better. And they've integrated the Newcrest acquisition, and I think they will continue to over the next 6 to 12 months. So we'll see continual improvements in Q3, in Q4, into Q1 of 2025. And they guided on the conference call to a strong Q4. So definitely the market's going to position well ahead of that Q4 print. Okay, so the gold miners are trading like this is a bull market sector. So you can hate all you want, but the big producers, the Agnicos, the Newmonts, the Kinrosses, they are generating performance, actually outperformance, and they're telling you this is a gold bull market. So don't overthink it, guys. And we'll get quarters from Kinross and Agnico out after the close today. We'll talk about that in next week's video. MindMed. So this is one I haven't talked about much recently. I got some questions on, let me get a drink of water. I got some questions about this one recently and the MDMA announcement by the FDA. That'll be August 11th or sometime between now and August 11th. Look, technically, this is a beauty. It made this big, long, bullish flag pattern on the weekly, and it broke out from it a couple of weeks ago. Definitely, there's some volatility in this stock for sure, but it's bullish in my mind. And this is a stock with like 27% short interest. I don't think the FDA is going to reject MDMA. I think they might actually approve it with a bunch of conditions, or they might just give some feedback on some more things they want to see. I don't think it'll be a negative announcement. Certainly, there's some negativity priced in already, just based upon the the meeting they had in early June. But anyway, MindMed is not really an MDMA play, although they have an MDMA drug in their pipeline. It's not advanced stage. I think it's phase one. Um, Really, it's their anxiety drug MM120 that's going into phase three. That's their top drug candidate, where most of the value is. But this is a company that has a Fort Knox balance sheet. They have over $200 million in cash. I don't really understand the 27% short interest, but it seems to me, based upon the chart technicals, it's ripe for a further short squeeze. Okay, junior mining. All right, so it's not quite as long-winded as I thought it was going to be, but we got a lot of juniors to get into. So American Eagle Gold. So yesterday kind of hit the headlines with a 25% rise on heavy volume, dipped off the open today, but look, they're buying it up again. Obviously, there's been no news from the company in the last few weeks, so I have nothing new to offer on that respect. But I would think, based upon my last conversation with the CEO on the site visit at NAC earlier in the month, that there was a good chance we could get a news update from the company next week. Now, Monday is a holiday in Canada for some civic day or family day or something. I don't know. Like, it's a Canadian thing. They just want a holiday in early August. So Monday is a holiday. So maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, we'll hear from American Eagle Gold. And I would assume, just based upon when they started drilling, that we could get the results of the first 2, 3, I don't know, holes of 2024 at NAC. I don't think the buying yesterday was anybody knows anything about the assays. I think it might have to do with the Filo buyout that was announced on what was it, Monday night, right? So Filo being bought for $4.5 billion, stock traded up to $32 a share. Could be some recycling of profits from shareholders who are big winners in Filo, and maybe, like American Eagle is one of their next ideas. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but there was some pretty aggressive buying on the tape on Tuesday. A lot of it coming from TD in Canada. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I'll definitely talk about this if we get some news in next week's video. Awale Resources, ARIC on the venture. So this one had some buying in the last couple of days and now some selling today, but they announced news. Look, 20 grams per ton gold over 29 meters at the Charger prospect. So the Charger target. So let me look at my bullet points here. Get rid of the gold chart. So we got the first set of results from Charger, and obviously 20 grams per ton over 29 meters is the headline, and that's exceptional. That's an extraordinary hole. And that was in hole OED D88. So remember that hole 83 was like the one that was 32 meters of 45 grams that was announced at the end of March. So this is hole 88. So what is that? 5 holes later, they're hitting more extraordinary grades over wide intervals. So let's look at the assay table here. So it looks like hole 84 was a bit of a miss. Oh, sorry. No, they hit 70 meters of 1.2 grams. So it wasn't a miss. It just wasn't nearly as high grade. Hole 85, 21 meters of 1.7 grams. Okay, that's pretty good, respectable. And they're hitting gold all throughout. It's just not eye-popping grades. It's not the 20 gram or 45 gram grades, but they're hitting gold. Hole 86. Okay, I'm just trying to read this table correctly. All right, so hole 86, a little bit of a miss. I only hit a meter of 1.5 grams. Hole 87, a bit of a miss. And then hole 88, boom, 29 meters of 20 grams, including 8 meters of 39.5 grams. So 3 of the 5 holes are pretty damn good. They have some pretty good hits, and 2 of them are borderline, or, you know, 1 is extraordinary and 1 is very good. 70 meters of 1.2 grams is very good, obviously. And that's from 69 meters down hole depth. And just looking at the section map, here, oh, okay, so they hit, oh, so further down in hole 85. Sorry, I didn't fully interpret this hole 85. So within hole 85, there's 10 meters of 7.8 grams per ton. Okay, see, I missed these you know, these intervals down here. My bad. So hole 85 is extraordinary as well. So hole 84, hole 85, and hole 88, all very good holes. So 3 out of 5 holes at Charger hit. 3 out of 5 hit. And what we know from my last call with Chubb, the CEO, Andrew Chubb, on X Spaces, is that they've got another 5 holes at Charger pending, where they drilled, they took 2 rigs back to Charger at the end of the program and drilled 5 holes, testing down plunge extensions of this pipe. Okay, so they're testing it down here at whatever 250, 300 meters down hole depth. And I mean, they're hitting. I mean, 3 out of 5 is pretty good. I mean, I think they got a pretty good handle on Charger. Now some people are going to say, well, maybe it's not that big of a target. Maybe there's not that many gold ounces. You know, let's look at the scale here. Maybe it's like, 40 meters wide. It's 300 meters deep. How many ounces could that hold? I don't know. We got to look at it in 3D. We got to do the math. But it remains open at depth, and that's where the remaining 5 holes of the program were drilled. So that'd be interesting to see those results. Then we also know that they drilled 10 holes at BBM. Okay. And actually, let me pull up the presentation, because BBM, I think, is where the real scale is here at this project in Cote d'Ivoire. So let's go to the BBM slide. I think we're just getting some selling on the news here, based upon the Charger results. Maybe some people worried about scale or whatever, maybe just taking some short-term profits. But when you look at, the scale at BBM, 8 kilometers of strike extent, and they've only tested maybe about a 1,000 or 1,200 meter, long stretch of it, right? So there's a lot of room for expansion, both along strike and at depth at BBM. So it's actually the next news release that I think could be the real market mover for Awale. And based upon, again, the conversation I had with Chubb, which is public on X and on YouTube, the width of the gold zones at BBM seem to be increasing at depth. Now, assays pending, so we need confirmation of that. But here's where the real scale is. I think Charger is a very nice target area where you have incredibly high grades. We have to see how big it is, what the scale is, but probably just based upon what I'm seeing in the section maps, probably not more than a million, like a million ounces just at Charger. BBM could be something totally different. Okay, something totally different. All right, so I think that's it on Awale. So yeah, we'll get news release on BBM probably later this month, and then we'll get another news release on Charger in September. I'll be speaking with Andrew Chubb tomorrow on X Basis. Need to confirm that time, but I'll announce it. Okay. And Awale, yeah, just it went up yesterday and down today. Basically, no net change over the last 2 days. Buy on the rumor, sell the news sort of action in Awale. All right, so Hercules Silver also dropped off the open today on news from the Hercules project near Cambridge, Idaho. And whenever you get a news release where it says Hercules Metal provides exploration update, well, either the assays aren't good or there's no assays in the news release. So thankfully, there's no assays in this news release because we wouldn't want to have a news release where the assays aren't good. But they sold the news because, well, the first bullet point tells you why. The market knee-jerk response was negative. 4,600 meters have been drilled and 6 completed and 3 abandoned and 3 in progress holes. So 12 holes total, 3 abandoned, 6 completed to target depth, and 3 in progress. The deepest hole being 722 meters depth. Okay, so the progress, considering that drilling started, let's say, exactly 3 months ago, not fantastic. It's about 1,500 meters a month, right? And there's 5 months left in the year. So 5 times 1,500 is 7,500 plus 4,600. They're on track for about 12,000 meters through the end of the year. So that would be well short of the 20,000 meters targeted. So things are going to need to speed up for them to reach that 20,000 meters. But I'm confident they're going to drill this thing through year end. And this bullet point, they are planning to enhance productivity by adding a deep RC drill rig with a depth capacity of 1,200 meters. Roads are being widened to allow access for the larger rigs. So they got 3 rigs on the project now. One of them can go 2,000 meters deep. That's drilling hole 10 right now, which is a big western step out. And they'll add this 4th rig. So definitely productivity is improving. It's improving just with the 3 rigs right now, and I got that update from Chris today. Productivity is improving, knock on wood. And with the 4th rig, it will improve a lot. So they have a chance to achieve that 20,000 meter guidance. I also asked him how the treasury is doing. Is this drill program way over budget now? He said they have 21 million in the treasury. It's not over budget. Which is good to hear. So they're doing fine. It's just been slow and at times painful to abandon 3 holes. Okay, so another key bullet point is this large fault zone. The BN fault has impacted drilling progress in holes 1, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 9B. Wow, that's a lot of holes impacted by this fault zone. But they figured out the geometry of this by mapping it in Leapfrog in 3D, which enables future drill holes to focus on areas with more favorable ground conditions away from the fault. So let me see if I can unpack this. So yeah, let's start with this one. So this is the BM fault right here. And you've got 3 different fault structures going on here in just this map area, right? Just this main target area of focus that they've been focusing on so far in 2024. I bet this is the same fault and it's just been offset. Like maybe there's some strike slippage that happened here along Tom's fault. But as far as I know, they don't know that yet, right? It needs to be, determined. But some things we do know The ground conditions north of Tom's Fault are much better than south of it, where holes 9 were drilled, hole 6 was drilled, hole 26 was drilled, right? This area here is very, very tricky. So hence, stepping to the north, holes 2411 and 2412, targeting this area north of Tom's Fault, stepping towards Great Creek, which was already, we knew they wanted to step to the north towards Great Creek along the Porphyry Corridor since the inception of the drill program, since they put out the new geophysics in April. We knew that was one of the priorities, and so now they're doing it. They've tested to the south, they ran into some trouble due to this fault, and now they're stepping to the north. Now also, we learned that there's this hole all the way over here to the west, hole 2410, and it's actually collared on the other side of this fault. It's actually, if it was on this map, which it's not, it would be collared over here. Now notice there's some area of intense chargeability over here to the west that we don't know much about, hasn't been talked about. It's actually to the west of the first set of power lines over here. Well, they're testing that area, and it's in this schistose rhyolite. So the upper plate here to the west of the fault is in schistose rhyolite. And then I don't know how deep the lower plate is. I'm not sure they know. I guess we're going to find out, because this is where the most powerful rig is right now. The rig that could go to 2,000 meters is drilling this furthest west step out hole. So whatever happens there, we're going to get a lot of information as to what's going on to the west of the fault. And again, so this is not a 3D graphic. So you got to have some imagination to understand maybe what this fault looks like in 3D. It's actually dipping to the east, and that's why they had some problems in 2406. And actually 2406 ended in mineralization. I don't think they wanted to end it based upon what the news release says, but the ground was so unfavorable. They had to end the hole. Okay. Yeah. So we've got 2 rigs stepping out to the north towards Great Creek, still in the target corridor, but to the north of the cross-cutting lateral fault, Tom's Fault, which seems to be a very important fault structure, because remember, look at the discovery hole 2305 was basically drilled right off of Tom's Fault, and that's still the best grades to date on this project. This is obviously a very important controlling structure. And actually, if you extend Tom's Fault, so connect the dots, 2305, 2311, if you extend it, Big Cut is down here to the bottom right of the map. And Big Cut is that skarn that has the really high copper grades at surface and soils and rock samples. A very important area of interest over here is Big Cut, and it's basically right along Tom's Fault. Like Tom's Fault is cutting right across here. It's obviously a very important structure. Okay. Yeah. What's next? New mapping has enhanced the understanding of structural patterns and alteration zonation across the project. Now, this is interesting. Specular hematite associated with hypogene copper silver enrichment dips shallow underneath the unconformity, the conglomerate. So let's go back to this map, and the purple stood out to me here. Specularite chalcocite. So this is at surface, this purple stuff. This was done by Warren Pratt, the porphyry mapping specialist. he mapped this area. I mean, he mapped this whole thing. But this stood out to me. I didn't know this existed until today, turning open this news release. What is chalcocite doing at surface over here on the other side of this fault, right? So there's like, I don't know, I guess there's like 3 fault layers. There's this fault, and there's this fault, the BN fault, right? We don't know a whole lot about this one, but clearly something is happening with the soils. The big cut is over here, right? So the copper in soil is way stronger. Copper is way stronger to the east over here. And then there's not much copper in soils. It turns into silver in soils. So you think like, here's the far west section. This is the central section where Hercules has been focused. And this is the eastern section where, as far as they know, they haven't drilled over here. They certainly haven't drilled any deep holes over here, right? In fact, I don't even think they've drilled over here. Maybe some historical operators did, but shallow stuff, right? But this is interesting. There's chalcocite over here. And there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm not going to act like I'm going to unpack it all in this video. I probably need to sleep on this. I need to hear other people's ideas, but there's a lot going on in this map, and there's a zonation going on where you have the propylitic over here. So this is the more distal parts of a porphyry system. This other thing, uh, actinolite, that's also distal. I don't even know how to say it. I haven't heard the word before, but it's a distal. It's a sign of you're pretty far. You're pretty far away from the porphyry source. And then we have philic over here, so you're getting warmer here. And then you have this hematite, which would be a sign of a lot of oxidation going on up here. All right. Copper was oxidized. And then we have the specularite and chalcocite. This is complicated. This is complicated, but there's something that's standing out to me. Why is the chalcocite here? And then looking at this map, we're talking about in this area, look at the copper, right? It's off the charts. And it's right in between these 2 faults, right? So this to me stands out as an area of interest now. And the zonation is also very interesting. And then I'm not going to talk about Scout, but I listened to a Scout presentation, and Curtis, the CEO of Scout, which I'll talk to him tomorrow, he's got 3 target porphyry center areas over here to the southeast at Cutty Mountain. So that makes it even more interesting. This is quite a puzzle. And it's all the faulting that has created this puzzle. You have these faults, and then you have the Tom's fault cross-cutting the whole thing, right? It's created a bit of a jumble. It's not like this perfect porphyry model that we all like to look at, you know? It's not this. And then also we know that the system's been tilted over to the northwest, right? The whole thing is tilted to the northwest, which also makes it even more complicated. All right, let's see my bullet points. So hole 2406, where are the comments on hole 2406? Here. So the fact that they said they ended it in mineralization and they want to retest it once the RC rig arrives tells me I mean, that you wouldn't retest the area unless they hit there. Just simple. If it was a duster or if it was low grade, they wouldn't spend the time and money to go re-enter that. So that is right there a huge clue that 24-6 is a good hole. It also makes sense, like where it was collared in the porphyry corridor in this target area. It makes sense that this was a pretty good hole. Okay, we don't know how good, but the clues are there. Okay, and 2409 is definitely, this is not like, yes, they lost 2 holes here, but doesn't mean that there's not copper, high grade copper here. It just means the ground conditions are very tough. I think this location along the fault, drilling towards the target chargeability corridor, is actually a great location. They just need to use the RC rig to get through some of the tough rock there. So that's why they're bringing the RC rig. I wish they brought it in earlier, but you know, hindsight is 2020. But it's clear to me from this map that the faulting, like understanding the faulting here, is the key to unlocking everything. The mystery, right? Um, and it seems to me like most of the holes to date have hit this elevated hypogene copper silver, enrichment layer, right? There's a trend emerging. They're starting to figure out the puzzle, but this is still not the potassic porphyry core, right? It's still not this juicy part that we want to hit, right? This is still yet to be found. It's clear to me from the news release that they have still yet to find this, right? They've drilled into some of the upper levels. They're getting a better handle on zonation and vectoring. They've drilled into the lithocap, right? They've drilled into phyllic, right? But they have not hit this potassic porphyry core. And so that remains to be discovered still, right? Still figuring out the clues here. And I think Great Creek is still a very, very interesting target, right? A magnetic anomaly up here has to be tested. And I think that we will get, they're stepping out obviously to the north towards Great Creek right now, but they need to go even further up here to fully test it. And Forest Service drill permits are pending, and I think they're due any day now. So that shouldn't be a problem. I think that they will be able to go ahead and drill up by Great Creek in the next month or two. The hypogene enrichment is a separate event after the porphyry emplacement. Okay, this is a separate event. This is not happening simultaneously, right? So the porphyry is placed along one of these fault structures. This is my interpretation. Maybe along Tom's fault, maybe along the BN fault, maybe along this fault, maybe there's some other place. It's the porphyry is placed, and then a later event comes, hydrothermal event comes, and you get that hypogene enrichment layer, that blanket, call it what you will, what they hit in hole 2305 and 2326 and 2321, right? Like that very strong copper zone, right? Boom, boom. Like you can see it there standing out, right? And it's even in hole 2308 to a lesser extent in 2311, but it's prominent. There's a hypogene enrichment layer, copper and silver, hypogene and enrichment layer. We're more interested, obviously, in the copper because it's higher grade and there's more of it. But that was a later event. So the hunt continues for the early porphyry center and the potassic core of the system. What more can I say? This map is very freaking interesting, and I need to study it, and I think we all need to study it who care about Hercules a lot more, and then also maybe clue it in with what Scout is seeing as well and try to figure this whole thing out. But it's very, very interesting. And this, maybe some other people who are knowledgeable about this can also comment on what they think is happening here with this specularite and chalcocite over here off to the east. But yeah, let's end it there. Let me update 60 cents. Yeah, I mean, so hard for me to calculate to comment on valuation here, but needless to say, I am still long and still very optimistic on Hercules. Obviously, this has been a challenging start to the drill program, but it seems to me like they are putting the clues together, the pieces of the puzzle together, and this is just a matter of time. This is how exploration works. I was very encouraged to hear Chris say they have 21 million. So there's no money pressures here. Like, they're going to be fine. Just get the drilling productivity up, get that RC rig in here, continue to test these priority targets. They got to figure this out. You're not going to figure out a big porphyry system like this one, especially with all the faulting, in the first 10 holes of a program, or even the first 15 holes, or probably in the first 20 holes. It's going to take some time and patience. So if you're involved here, just know that, it's not instant gratification. This is junior mining, like this is exploration. It takes time, and there's a lot of failures and near misses along the way before you actually hit that glory hole, right? It's not a simple porphyry model, and we knew that, right? I said that in the last few videos. All right, let's move on because we could talk forever. Ridgeline. All right, so Ridgeline IP survey is commencing at Big Blue. So we should get the results of this IP survey in August. And then if all goes well, right, if it's confirming, like, here's obviously the area where they're doing the IP. This is the focus area. Okay, so it's not going to be over here. It's going to be this area. They have the outcropping porphyry. They have the magnetic high undercover. It's a very nice setup. So if what they see in the IP, the higher resolution, deeper IP, confirms the model that they have for Big Blue, and they feel confident in their drill targets, I expect they will drill this in Q4. So that means like October, November timeframe. Okay, I would assume. But definitely wait for confirmation of that from CEO Chad Peters. But that's what I'm thinking here. And we want to see that classic porphyry zonation in the chargeability, where you have like the high chargeability shell and then a more moderate chargeability sort of core, in there, where you would have the copper sulfides. That's what we're looking for here at Big Blue. But that's exciting. That's definitely exciting. And Ridgeline is one of my portfolio positions, and the chart ain't half bad here in 2024. And then final topic. Ooh, we got to it. Prismo Metals commenced drilling at Palos Verde. This is in Mexico. This is next door to Vizsla Silver. So this is a great place to be drilling, next to 300 million ounces of high grade silver. And yeah, so testing some down dip extensions of these high grade gold and silver shoots identified by previous drilling. And the grades here can be pretty phenomenal. I mean, just look at 11,000 grams per ton silver. I wouldn't set your expectations there, but this is the kind of robust high tenor gold and silver system that can generate those kind of eye popping grades. And it's trading up today. My main interest with Prismo is not Palos Verde, although I think it's a great number 2 project. It's Hot Breccia in Arizona. Please take a look at this presentation by Mikey Mike on co.ca. Hot Breccia project. He digs into this really beautifully. Give him a shout. everything you need to know about hot breccia is here in this article. We are in giant copper country in Arizona here along the Arizona copper belt. And I really like what he says here about resolution. So resolution is the one that's held by Rio Tinto and BHP just outside the town of Superior. This is basically the biggest, highest grade copper deposit in the US. It's not permitted, it's not in operation, but look at the amount of infrastructure these guys have built here. It's all ready to go. They just need to get those final federal permits. 64 billion pounds of copper at 1.53%. That's just out of this world. The size, the grade in Arizona. I mean, it's got everything. And obviously, that's why the two biggest mining companies in the world own it 50-50. But it bears similarities. So resolution, 64 billion pounds at 1.53%, bears similarities to the geology and structural setting of hot breccia. And then it's a deep-seated copper porphyry inside a grob that is overlain by volcanic and sedimentary rocks. Only resolution is even deeper than the main target area at hot breccia. So hot breccia is in giant country, got all the right bells and whistles, all the signs of a potential major porphyry discovery. So definitely worth a shot for a $12 million market cap junior. And I am definitely a shareholder of Prismo, and Prismo is a sponsor of Goldfinger Capital. Very grateful for their support. And so that is it. Enjoy the Fed. And again, if you enjoyed this video, if you got value from this, if you like my content, please hit like and subscribe and leave a comment in the comment section. Have a powerful trading week.